The official Jets podcast is presented by WynnBET. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WynnBET. Eric Allen here with Jets assistant GM Rex Hogan. What's it like right now as far as the point of time here? The roster, your initial 53 is set. You're getting the practice squad finalized. And, oh, by the way, in the distance, not too far away now, Jets, Bills, Monday Night Football, September 11th.
Yeah, it's exciting because how we've built the 53, obviously, and we're able to retain some of the guys who we had on the roster previously. And then we've also gone out and got a handful of guys to add to the practice squad that we got from other clubs. And the pro department, pro staff, all those guys did an unbelievable job to get those guys and to evaluate the number, how the market's flooded with all the free agents who hit it cut down. So had a long night and worked through it and identified the guys that we wanted to get, and we were able to get them after the claims went in.
How would you describe how far the roster has come since Joe Douglas was hired as GM in June of 2019, and shortly thereafter he brought you back to Florham Park?
Yeah, just the turnover alone. I don't know the exact numbers. I wish I did off the top of my head, but it's unreal how we've gone from, I think, maybe a handful of guys who were on the initial roster in 2019 to now what we have. So it's been quite a work in progress, and we're still going to build.
Now, the big fish for you guys this offseason was acquiring Aaron Rodgers. Joe just talked to the media here downstairs, and he said at the start of the offseason, I would have thought this was very unrealistic, but with each passing day, it became more realistic. From your view, what was it like as you watch the process unfold, and you're a central character in this?
Yeah, it was wild because, you think about having the opportunity to be able to go and get one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game. And, just seeing it unfold in each step, and how there became a little more clarity with it each time, like, this is realistic. We've got a chance with this. And, the anticipation builds and until that moment when he went on the McAfee show, and then word was spread around the world, so to speak, and it was wild. And then not only that, once he decided to come play for us, but having to work through the process with the Packers of the trade. So once that was done, it was really a cool moment. I mean, not only for us and player personnel, but obviously for the organization and the fan base.
Watching him every day here out in camp, what were your takeaways? Because fans were able to see glimpses of that on One Jets Drive, of course, and Hard Knocks as well. But for a guy who's here in the building, what stands out to you about Rodgers?
Yeah, I think they're getting a glimpse now of who Aaron is and how he is on a day-to-day basis within the building, and the impact that he makes not only on the team but in the locker room and in the building, like you mentioned. It's really cool because he has a certain level and standard and accountability that just with him entering the building, there's this instant credibility, obviously, with his talent and his experience and his production. And now everybody else, not only on the team but in the building, has to rise to that and reach those standards. And it's a constant drive and a constant improvement is what we feel with that growth mindset throughout the team.
Can you talk about his intelligence, his football intelligence, his overall intelligence, but also the fact that he has an aura of relatability to him where he can go downstairs and talk to somebody in the locker room who's a rookie or in his second year and connect, but he also can come upstairs and talk to you or Joe and connect?
Yeah, he's done that, not only offensive side of the ball but defensive side of the ball. I think we saw it throughout the spring in OTAs, how he would take Sauce out to dinner or go to a basketball game or go to a hockey game with some other guys on the other side of the ball. Maybe take CJ out to dinner and talk about the impact that both of them have as captains on offense and defense. And like you're saying, his relatability is incredible. And it's just the subtle conversations that he has. He'll pull a guy to the side and talk about the details of a route or a formation and the impact they have within that play. And not only that, it's how he interacts with everybody else in the building. Like you said, he'll come upstairs and make his way down the hallway just to introduce himself to everybody else within player personnel, and he just has an instant relatability, like you've said.
Joe said 5 or 6 times each day he'll do something that's amazing. Would you echo those sentiments?
Yeah, absolutely. It's whether it's a pass, a communication, something he sees, whether or not it's a run check to get us into a good run. Just what he's seen off the defensive formation, just the little tendencies and the things that he does in the 2-minute drill, and the small things, and how he'll bring the other QBs in and communicate it right before he goes in the huddle. But his ability and understanding of the big picture is super impressive.
Did you see progress from Zach Wilson here throughout the summer as far as his preseason play? You see him at practice every day, but getting those game reps, and you guys for the staff are hoping you don't see too much of Zach this
Right.
year. But obviously, from afar, it looked like he was a different person in terms of a confidence level.
Yeah, you can see it in his body language, how he commands the huddle and communicates, how he's watching Aaron's subtle details of how he addresses the huddle and commands the huddle. And then when they break and the things he sees, Zach just has this more confidence in what he's seeing, how he's running things, and you see it how it translates onto the field with he's quieted his feet in the pocket. He's playing with a more efficient understanding of the position, and the effectiveness has been much better.
What do you think about the offensive line now heading into the season? You get Dwayne Brown back off of PUP, and I think a lot of people, rightfully so, didn't know what to expect from Mekhi. And he came out, transformed his body, and he continues to elevate his game.
Yeah, Mekhi's done a tremendous job. Physically, you can see the change, how he's handled himself, how he continues to get better every day, how the selflessness of, he wanted to be a left tackle. And with Dwayne coming back, he did it for the good of the team and moved to the right, and has been extremely effective moving over to the right. And it's kind of given us that they've solidified as a group now with it, because there were a lot of moving parts throughout not only OTAs with the injuries, with Dwayne being out, Mekhi returning, and then we're moving a lot of parts between Max Mitchell and Billy Turner at the tackle positions. We were flipping those guys consistently, and then also the addition of Carter Warren, and then Carter being injured is going to be out for a little bit, but can't wait to get him back and have him in the rotation as well. But offensive line as a whole, man, they've really come together and gelled between Lakin, McGovern, AVT, the addition of Joe Tippmann, Wes Schweitzer. So that whole group that's made up the 53 offensive line group is going to be gelled and keep coming together.
You excited to see what Dwayne can do with 2 arms? Because last year he gutted it out with 1 arm, and then he got the surgery in the offseason. And for people who aren't here every day, dude's a workout warrior.
Yeah, no doubt. The word, it gets thrown around a little bit in terms of warrior and how those offensive linemen play. But what he did last year was incredible with the playing through the injury. And then not only since the season's been over, the surgery that he's had and his recovery and how hard he's worked to get back. And he's as strong as ever, and he is a true pro in every sense.
Tippmann, can you talk about his development really quickly? Because Robert said pleasant surprise when he got those game reps and he started to come on at the center position. Then you guys had some injuries you were dealing with on the interior, but that was something that you also talked about when you drafted him, is that we see position flexibility in Joe. Can you talk about what he did at center during camp and came on, but also getting those valuable reps at guard?
Yeah, I think it's just the typical rookie transition. It's tough, especially when you're going to center and having to make the calls with the potential Hall of Fame quarterback behind you. So, again, those standards that you have to meet for him and what Aaron sees. And so Tip, when he was thrown, as he worked his way up and was thrown into the mix with the ones, as starting center and getting reps with the ones, he showed each step of the way, whether it was with the 3s at center, 2s at center, or 2s at guard, and then they even put him in at left guard and right guard to deal with some injuries. So he showed position versatility. Obviously we were impressed with his size, his strength, his athleticism, and his football intelligence and instincts, and those are all kind of coming together now and helping him make that transition and step. So I'm sure he's going to continue to push Connor McGovern for the starting spot.
What about the wide receiver group? I think a lot of people, maybe on the outside, slightly surprised that Xavier Gibson's on the roster. Not only him, but Jason Brownlee and then Herb Charles as well.
Right. So yeah, we went with 7 guys at the receiver position, and obviously all those guys earned it. And you try and do who are guys who are 53 quality player in the level of roster ability, and each one of those guys proved it. And they're each different in their own right. Talking about X first, he's a slot receiver who's got great speed, quickness, ability after the catch, and in addition to the return value, he's going to be our starting punt returner and compete for the kick return spot. And then what Jason Brownlee has shown from the one-hand catch in OTAs to his leaping ability, his body control, his route ability in his hands, and how he's a different athlete than X and a different size. And then you have Irv with his combination of height, weight, and speed and power. He's built more like a power forward compared to those other 2 guys. But Irv's made a serious jump in special teams and has really leaped to the forefront as one of our best special teams players on the roster, and probably our best special teams player as a receiver to earn that spot.
Yeah, Robert said that Herb Charles, special teams wolf. So
Wolf, yeah.
We'll be watching.
I like it.
We'll be watching him here early in the fall. Does Garrett Wilson have a ceiling?
I don't want to talk about a ceiling for it, because I think everybody can see where he can go with this play, and as he continues to develop that rapport with Aaron and that relationship with Aaron, it showed in the game against the Giants, man, with just a couple drives, but the catch and the way Aaron gave him the look and the release and the timing of the route and the accuracy of the throw and how quick Garrett's hands were to the ball. The receiver didn't even see. I mean, the defender didn't even see it. How quickly it happened.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it was wild.
I mean, I'm on the record as saying that 1,500 is not the ceiling this year, but potentially you could see that kind of season from him as far as yardage is concerned. Other side of the ball, Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
What kind of steps did he take throughout the offseason?
Yeah, what he added to his body, 12 pounds of muscle, and how he's up in the high 260s now, and it's shown. He'd always played with an edge last year. Now he's developed more power, more arsenal in terms of his pass rush repertoire, and it's all coming together for him. How he's playing on first and second down in the run game with violence and capturing the edge and setting the edge, not only setting it but defeating and playing behind the line of scrimmage, and what he's shown as a pass rusher. The guy's going to have a tremendous year. We feel great about him, what he did in the offseason to improve, and he's going to continue to impress us.
Is this the deepest defensive line you've ever been part of?
Yes, absolutely. When in Chicago, when we had the Super Bowl run with the defense, it was either number 1 or number 2. We had some standouts, but nowhere near the depth of this group.
Getting Quinnen done before camp, how big was that? And can you talk about his mindset? Because everybody in the building says that, hey, he got the bag now, but he just wants to accelerate everything as far as he wants to take it to another level.
Yeah, the cool thing I think it shows the locker room is that homegrown talent, so to speak, guys we draft, guys we develop, and then guys get rewarded for it. Not only as a person but as a player, what Q brings, and I haven't seen a change at all in Q. He's the same guy. Like he knows what he wants. He wants to be one of the best, if not the best, at his position, and he works like that and lives his life like that, and it continues to show for us.
I could ask you about each of those guys up front. We don't have enough time to do that. I mean, Bryce Huff had a great summer. Will McDonald, he is showing his pass rush skill set, his moves, more than just a speed guy. Mm-hmm. We know that. But John Franklin Myers, I think he kind of goes under the radar a little bit. How valuable of a player is he, and what can he do in the system? Yeah,
JFM is like a traditional base end for us, but he's a bigger base end, being a 295-pound guy who can instantly kick inside as a nickel 3, as a rusher. And when we go in those nickel rush situations, we can move him in, add one of those edge guys that you just talked about. And so he gives us a lot of position flex as being the base defensive end or kicking inside as a nickel, or essentially anywhere along the front with his skill set and athleticism. Not only him, but you have Michael Clemens, who's another guy who worked his ass off to get to 200 and close to 290 pounds. And he's different too because he's another power forward, Bill, with super long, wingspan and length and power. And so each one of those guys brings a different type of body type and rush. So you can't, as an offensive tackle, you can't just, okay, I got to prepare just for this type of rush because they're coming in waves and each guy's different.
Speaking of different body type, how about Al Woods
Yeah.
coming in here at 36 years old? You're going to have this is a little bit unconventional for Saleh. He even mentioned that hey, we haven't had this kind of guy in our system. And then Quentin Jefferson is a guy who's coming off a career high sack season last year, a longer player, and he's going to be able to give you guys more pass rush on the inside as well.
Yeah, exactly. And, Quentin has the versatility to play both interior spots as a 2 technique or a 3 technique. He's shown that in Seattle and the previous defenses he's been in, but he's an active rusher who's another different variety, kind of like Solomon, maybe a traditional undersized for the position, but he's got a skill set in terms of his quickness and his ability to win on the edge against blockers. And then matched when you bring Al in, whether it's first and second down or if Al's in the game on third down, because of his power to push,
right.
He's such a huge man with giant, look like catcher's mitts for hands. The guy's so strong and powerful, and it's hard to move that guy on the interior. And so he's going to eat up blocks, and not only eat up blocks, he's going to win and make plays inside.
Mosley's a rock. Quincy has really developed since you guys claimed him off of waivers from Jacksonville. But what about those other 3 guys? You got Zaire Barnes, Jamie Sherwood with his opportunity this year, and then how about Chaz Surratt making this roster?
Yeah, just starting with Sherwood, Wood has made a tremendous jump from the last couple of years. He suffered the Achilles injury. Coming off of it last year, he made strides and then spent every day of the offseason here and dedicated himself to becoming a starting level NFL backer, and the guy's done it. He's done it in the offseason. He's done it during the training camp and preseason games. He's proven it. Super proud of him on what he's done. And then Chaz Surratt, has continued to show NFL linebacker ability. There's a reason why he was a 3rd-round pick for the Minnesota Vikings out of North Carolina because of his speed and his athleticism and tackling. And was a former quarterback from North Carolina and started some games and made a transition. So probably a little bit later in his career, but he's shown he's worthy. And then Zaire has had a typical rookie transition, had some ups and some downs, and we're going to continue to keep working with him, obviously, and proud of the steps and strides he's made. But all 3 of those guys still have upside. That Rudy's done a great job, and Brick's done a great job, and Saleh Roberts done a great job with developing those guys as linebackers and identifying guys that are fits for our defense.
You can make an argument that you guys have the best cornerback group in the National Football League. Of course, that's led by Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Michael Carter is second.
Yeah.
Such a valuable piece back there. But let me ask you about, what do you think about the safety combination, how Tony Adams took advantage of his op here, and also we saw a little bit in the summer where you guys were exploring with some big nickel with Adrian Amos.
Right. Yeah. First of all, T.O. and Marquand, what they've done to develop each one of those groups has been tremendous. The attention to detail, always proverbial dangling the carrot for these guys and having them work and grow each day. And both of them are great teachers of the game. And you see these guys absorb it. But along the lines of just the corners, talk about JFM being kind of under the radar type guy. I think MC2 kind of falls in that category because he's playing at a very high level and matching what Sauce and DJ are doing. So really proud of that group. And then we've got depth out at the outside corner spots and guys who are pushing them as well and have made some real growth with it. But transition to the safeties, man, what Tony Adams has done from an undrafted free agent, it's a testimony to, total buy-in. And
you were talking about him in this chair last year.
Yeah.
You were excited about him.
Yeah, we were excited about him. Because you get the guy after the draft with that type of talent and speed and athleticism and love for the game and desire to improve. And he has taken advantage of every opportunity he's been given and risen to the challenge because Adrian, came in late but adapted quickly to the defense and, hated losing Chuck Clark with the injury, but the addition of Adrian has really stabilized the back end for us. and it's given us some flexibility. And like you're talking about, when we go big nickel, Adrian's really comfortable down there. He's a bigger body type who can almost play like a linebacker. So with him and Jordan and then Ashton, who's really coming on and as a special teams leader and continuing to grow at safety. I've seen it in training camp in the preseason. So feel really good about the back end of the group.
No waiver claims. What does that say about the depth in-house?
Yeah, I think it means that we've kind of solidified the roster, and we're going to continue to grow, and we really looked at the best possibility of who can we upgrade, and we're always going to look to upgrade. But we didn't really see it for the claims. Felt really good about the guys we had. Knew we had an opportunity to go get some guys to stabilize for the practice squad who can challenge. And so going out and adding those guys, feel really good about it. But hated losing two more guys through the waiver wire and claim with Tristan and losing Tristan, and then Bam Knight going to Detroit with his selection for practice squad. But Claude Chairless did a really good job for us as well. So he's moving on to Carolina with the claim.
What about the potential of the running back position? We saw Breece Hall excel in those first 7 games last year, and then you guys come back and you add Dalvin Cook to the group. Yeah. Michael Carter, Robert said it in the spring, and I think MC has really followed up with it this summer, where Robert said, I think he's going to get back to that level that we started seeing at the end of his rookie year. And I think Michael had a really great camp. But can you talk about the potential with those guys, not only running the football, but Aaron's going to have the ability to hit these guys in the passing game. You guys can exploit a lot of mismatches with those dudes on linebackers.
Yeah, the top 3 backs who you've talked about with Breece and Dalvin and MC. First of all, MC, carrying the load throughout OTAs and training camp while those guys were coming back or waiting to sign Dalvin. MC did an incredible job of providing the leadership for the rest of, because we had a young room at that point with Breece being out and Dalvin being out, and MC took that by the reins and was really good within the room, on the field, made gross, returned to the guy that we had seen in his rookie year. So really proud of him. But like you said, all 3 of those guys, in addition to Izzy, the top 3 guys can all run, block, and catch, which you really look for. Izzy is making the strides in the, again, I hate to use the typical rookie transition, but coming from the college game where you're not asked to pass pro as much, or maybe not catch the ball as much on third down, he has really made growth with that, and he's obviously talented with the ball in his hands as a runner and with his speed and breakaway ability. So
how impressive is Cook? Because about his production, but just the way he goes about his business. He's another guy who loves ball and who seems like he's going to fit in seamlessly here. Yeah,
he's got a real presence to him. Obviously, you talk about Aaron, but Dalvin has, the vet factor, the production, the credibility, the respect. Not only from us but from around the league. What type of playmaker he was for Minnesota, and he's older guy in the prime of his career, so to speak, and he's done a really good job just watching him interact and give some subtle communication to Breece or Michael or Izzy or even the other guys before we moved on from them with the cut downs. It's been great to see him interact with them.
How cool is the mix between your veteran leaders and also the young guys who are coming into a culture that continues to be, I guess, I don't want to say created because it's already started. I mean, it's well underway, but it seems like you guys got the roster exactly where you would want it at this point of the season.
Yeah, it's really been cool because you talk about some of those vets that we've added with not only Aaron, but Billy Turner, and within the offensive line room coming from outside, another vet presence, and Wes Schweitzer, another vet presence. Then each one of the rooms has now, like Randall's come in and taken a lot of guys under his wing, specifically with Xavier being in the slot, and he can teach him some details of it and what, his experience that Xavier can lean on. And then you have Dalvin, and, defensive side, we've done the same thing. So every room there's a vet leader who has kind of taken over and help the other guy, because we got young guys who lead too.
Right.
And so the blend of the vet leadership and the youth movement across the roster has been cool to watch those guys.
What do you think about the expectations? You go about
Yeah.
your business, and you're out there in the street, and people are stopping you. I mean, it feels a little bit differently heading into 2023 than it has the past couple of years.
Yeah, you hear the outside noise, so to speak, but what I think we've continued to focus on is what are our weekly expectations. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on who's our upcoming opponent. Don't talk about down the line. All that's in the distance. And if we handle everything in a weekly expectation and that opponent, then everything else will take care of itself.
What do you think about that week one opponent? They've won the last 3 AFC division crowns. When you saw the schedule, and you saw last game of opening weekend, Jets, Bills, what did you think?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's going to be an electric environment. I mean, I think our fan base, they're incredible. And not only just being at home on 9/11, that's going to amp it up even more because of that. But the fact that it's Buffalo that we're opening up with, and how we've had some really good battles in the last couple of years, and how we split last year, I think it's going to be a wild scene. And I know that our fans are going to be hyped, the team's going to be hyped for it, and it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun one to watch. It's always fun catching up with you. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming by the studio here, and we wish you good luck as you start the season here.
Let's go Jets.